in here. I'll be straight up with you guys. I got 19 clips for you because of one thing that Katt Williams said. Now, Joe Rogan and Katt Williams sat down, and I'm not going to lie, I'll go into it a little later. Maybe I'll do a review, but I was a little disappointed by the interview. I felt like he's not a reporter, but he could have pushed a little harder. He could have asked about some things that went on, like maybe the interview that got 61 million views. Could have maybe asked about that just once, but that's fine. He's not a reporter. My expectations are the only thing that made me disappointed. Now, what Katt Williams did say was something about people wearing dresses, something about rituals always working, something about the transgender movement, and we're going to touch on all of it. I am going to break it down for you guys like you have never seen something broken down. You're not going to understand how I'm breaking this down, but here's what we're going to touch on. We're going to touch on the dress wearing ritual. Okay, I've touched on it before, but I got some new stuff. Then we're going to touch on weird rituals that are going on in the music industry. I have a lot of clips of a lot of rappers talking about a lot of things that they've been propositioned with. It's very weird. Then we're going to touch on rituals in Hollywood and society, because we've talked about it before. The woke movement is very cultish, and there is a bit of an indoctrination, and it doesn't just take place in ideology, but also in the way these people look as they get touched by it, consumed by it. And then we're going to move on to something Katt Williams said, and that is, what is Baphomet and how does it link to the LGBTQ community, because that is what he was suggesting. Now, let's get right into it. Don't forget about IamCoachColin.com. This is our newest design, Cancel Hollywood. This is the one I want to show you because this is what we're talking about today. You can get yours now. Discount code is IamCoachColin, all capital letters, all one word, one L in the name Colin. Let's get to this clip.
You see the same conversation with Tesla or Da Vinci, or like, information is what is limited, and whole industries can be built upon your ability to know how certain things are going to hit certain people. And this was before we called things promotion and marketing. You know what I mean? That's Hollywood is not really there to entertain you. Like, that's great that happens, but propaganda is something that is important to all civilizations.
Well, propaganda in Hollywood movies is built into the ingredients list. It's like, if you want flour, you need wheat. You're going to have to get the wheat. And if you want to be able to make movies about certain subjects, you have to be willing to work with some people. That, it'd be nice if you made it so that this is what we're trying to accomplish, and this is showing the negative side of this other society, and this is this is our hero. This is our hero who's going to go do America's bidding and go over there. And you're like, okay. And those movies are successful, and so they continue this relationship, and you become a bit of a propaganda arm for the government. And in turn, they don't fuck with you.
Right. But that's what makes information so powerful is, you don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about, does following the ritual work? Yeah. And so you can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear. So like when I be like, oh, these guys are wearing dresses, everybody's like, oh, he keeps talking about people wearing dresses. No, it's
that is a weird thing.
It's not like that. Look at it from a different way. Look at it. Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully. That's how you understand what a ritual is. So 20 years ago, I knew that transgenders was going to be a thing. It wasn't because I was a prophet. It's just I had gotten so much information that I understood that things are secular. So I understood that the earliest I had seen that word transgender was Baphomet, the transgender. And so I knew that in the ritual of Baphomet, the transgender, to show allegiance to him, you had to kiss his ass ring.
Really?
And it said both of those things. So I knew that both of those things will become popular in the future. and that somehow calling people the goat would be normalized over the sheep being always the most popular reference.
God damn, we got some good weed, Katt. Jesus Christ.
It just must be the weed
I'm trying
talk.
to figure out how to jump in on that.
Right. Which is my only goal.
I always wonder whether or not all the stories in the Bible, it's just where we are experiencing it. Like the mark of the beast thing that we were talking about earlier. If that is not, I think if you had to tell a story for so many years,
Yeah.
before anybody ever even figured out how to write it down, and you're telling a story about a civilization that allowed people to put brain implants in them, and then all of a sudden the brain implants were hijacked by machines, and people became just meat zombies controlled by corporations. That would be the mark of the beast. That would be a demonic thing. If a demon tricked human beings into wearing a hat that turned you into a zombie, that demon would be like a famous character in books and folklore. But that demon exists, and it's just technology. It just shows itself through this desire for the newest, latest innovations that are going to constantly fuel it becoming more and more powerful. Until one day it tricks you into letting it into its head, like a vampire. Like the vampire stories, you had to let them in, remember? That was the thing. You had to invite them in. And if you invited them in, you're fucked. But if you didn't invite them in, for some reason, they weren't allowed to kill you. That's almost like
Here's
the story.
Thing, you have to be able to benefit from the zombie. Like, there's no benefit in that taken out of context. Like, if you're making them zombies so that they can mine for you, then there's a story of that over there. Like that's the whole thing, is when you look at these ancient writings, they're not saying like, so he was from another world, and we had to bring him our kids, and he would eat them in front of us. Like, they're not telling those stories. They're saying like agriculture and
Knowledge,
literature and
cosmology.
right.
Explain the origin of life. Yeah.
Like,
show the double helix DNA.
To a fault.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Yeah.
saying anything outside of mathematic parameters.
Well, the wildest stuff is when you look at some of those old Sumerian tablets and you see how they had the solar system mapped out. They had the sun in the center, looked just like a sun with little marks around it. It had Venus where it should be, Jupiter where it should be, Uranus where it should be. They were all in the right spots. It's crazy. Like
the Ethiopian tribe had the same.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
crazy.
Like, no,
Crazy.
it's not. Yeah, but there is no craziness.
All right.
Everything lines up. The same grids.
Look at that. That is just nuts, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the conventional explanation for that is, because that Zachariah Sitchin guy who said all this stuff, he was often criticized. That people said that he took things too far, that his analysis went too far, and he just went into speculation. But god damn, a lot of the stuff that he was saying is like, you could see the implication in the actual tablets themselves. They show these gigantic beings with these little tiny people like sitting on their laps, and the people have tails. Have you seen those? It looks like genetic engineering.
Maybe it's a tail, maybe it's piping.
Right. Oh, Jesus! Right, it could be piping.
You understand
Right.
what I'm?
Oh yeah, of course.
What I'm saying is nobody's
Yeah.
telling these outlandish.
Right. But they're all kind of all saying the same thing. There's some higher power that comes and gives you structure, tells you what to do and how to live. And every society has
Information.
information.
That's what they
it.
give you.
They give you information. Yeah.
Every story, every civilization,
Yep.
every time.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. And that's what we're all thirsty for.
Right.
You know? And when
Well,
people
we're
aren't,
thirsty to monetize.
that's too. But also humans individually are thirsty for information. We always want information. We want gossip, we want news, we want bullshit, we want science. Especially if you have an appetite for, things that make you think. There's so much information that people are just constantly consuming. There's bullshit information like TikTok and nonsense that just passes you by. But there's still...
Yeah, but none of that stuff is nonsense.
Well, it's not all nonsense. What it is
It's just another
something
offshoot.
to get your attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what all of this is about. Mm-hmm. From the Roman Colosseums to, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the Roman
King
Colosseums,
Arthur's court time, like...
That's the first viral videos, right? Like that's,
right. Like,
they would tell viral stories.
yeah, this is this is all about this experience of being a human being in this amount of time.
Yeah.
And interaction between other people who have done this thing you're doing.
Yeah. And in the middle of you doing it, you realize you only have a certain amount of time. And you're like, God damn it, I'm just starting to figure this game out.
Right. So understand I was probably like 5 years old when I had that moment. So I lucked out because it happened to me so early. But it wasn't about I got that part. So I thought at like that age, I was thinking, okay, so I don't know how long I'm going to live because I'm kind of conflicted about how long people live. 100's a good number, but there's been people that 600, it seems. So I don't know. Like, seems like this, but
Okay. Now again, you guys know I don't like to interrupt clips at all. I don't do that, but I wanted to interrupt so bad because Katt Williams brought up Baphomet, which is like a Satanistic thing. Why not just ask the question, why were you researching Baphomet? Why were you reading about that? What do you mean that's what told you about the trans movement? What do you mean? Why couldn't he if he just said, what do you mean, just once in that little interaction, we would have gotten a completely different interview. I know it's not Joe's job. I know. I get it. But man, if he just said one time, what are you talking about? It would have been he would have explained. And then he brings up the dresses thing. And here's the thing that I just caught, because I'm just going to go over this before I jump into the clips. Here's the thing that I caught. He says all of that to Joe. Talks about the dresses and the rituals and when have you seen it not work. And then he talks about Baphomet. And then he links that to... Okay. Then when Joe goes, I don't know how to jump in on that. He says, I don't know how I'm going to jump in on that. Katt Williams says under his breath, which is my only goal. Is he saying that his only goal is to have Joe jump in on this type of conversation, on this type of exposing of truth? Because Katt Williams said in the Shea Club interview, or Club Shea interview, that 2024 is the year of exposing truth, of truth coming to light. It's just very interesting. I don't know if anybody else caught that, but he says it. Just as Joe's sitting there thinking, he goes, which is my only goal. And then Joe, instead of talking, it's not Joe's job. I get it. He's not a journalist. He's not a reporter. I understand. But as a person talking to Katt Williams, you hear all that. Don't you at least address a little bit? He just goes off into where he's comfortable. He goes, hey, AI, demonic. Hey, man. She said so much. At least ask him about the dress stuff. You know what I mean? At least bring it up and say, yeah, that is weird. So interesting. He brought it up with another person. He brought it up with this guy named Fahim. He talked about it. But listen, that's what we're going to get into. Oh, and to the person who said, you would have cared about my video, but I'm on my phone too much. Bro, I have notes that I'm taking. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm doing a show here. I'm writing stuff down. Now, we're going to move on to the dress ritual. We're going to touch on that first. This is a little bit of a roll. Just so you know, I mean, we're just going to go through everybody. You know what? In fact, let me actually play the audio because this guy does a good video. So you just saw Eddie Murphy. Let's listen to this guy here.
Little type of video today. So today, you know what I'm saying, I want to talk about the dress humiliation ritual in Hollywood and why they do it. So if y'all pay attention, if y'all pay any type of attention to the news and y'all seen what's been going on lately, then y'all seen a new inductee, if you will. You know what I'm saying? If y'all seen anything, y'all seen Russell Westbrook with a skirt on. You know what I'm saying? And you start to, once you keep seeing this reoccurrence happen, because he's not the only one, especially not the only basketball player. You know what I'm saying? As you can see.
So I just wanted to show that. So yeah, there's a new inductee. This guy just has a little bit of an issue speaking, and I'm just going to do it for him. But he's just talking about how this is happening in basketball. It's happening in movies. You're seeing LeBron James right now with a wig on, a long jersey on, not exactly a dress, but we just keep, that's Martin Lawrence there. You just keep seeing these men in dresses. And like Katt Williams said, when has it ever not worked? When has this ever not worked? When have you ever seen somebody do this and not go to the next level of fame? That's Tyler Perry. He's damn near a billionaire now. I think he is a billionaire now. When have you, that's Kid Cudi. You know, he's a very known music artist. When have you ever seen this stuff not work? And then he goes into the whole buck breaking thing. So that's what he actually talks about, emasculating of men, because it's not just black men, because I have more examples of that. But it's just very interesting that Katt Williams summed it up perfectly. That was the perfect way of saying it. When have you ever not seen it work? There has never been a time where you've seen somebody on SNL or Mad TV or any show and they're wearing a dress and you don't hear about that person. They don't go to the next level. Maybe they don't become Johnny Depp or anything like that, but they go to the next level. And from my last video, a lot of people were like, Denzel never wore a dress. No, Denzel never wore a dress. It's not every single person. It's about the people, and you're going to figure out more because I have so many clips, but it's about the people whose will is not as strong, who are not willing to walk away from what they see as fortune and fame. Sometimes it's too much for people. And I'm glad that I just said that because we're moving on to a little interview with Kevin Hart. I played a little bit of this at one point, but I played the same interview, but this is a different point where he's actually questioning Kevin Hart about this. Now, the person who made this video, Call Me Kinfolk, he actually wrote in some stuff because there are some things that Kevin says where you kind of see that he is open to the whole dress thing. The way that he's talking, he's using certain language. So let's just get into that.
I mean, really with last year's Laugh in My Pain tour, it really propelled you just to a different aura among, wider audiences. Mm-hmm. Now you're in 5-year engagement and Think Like a Man coming out the same weekend. What do you think about your roles in these romantic comedies? And will we ever see you in like a thriller or as a superhero or something like that?
Well, I think where I am in my career now, I'm financially stable. So, the roles that I'm able to choose now, they can be good roles. They can be smarter roles. I don't have to take certain movies. So it's all about the movie making sense and the role making sense. If it's something that can catapult me into a different, level, or take me someplace else.
It's his turn next.
And yes, other than that, I don't want to do things just to do them anymore because I don't have to. So I'm just trying to get better and be more about the craft and pick my projects a little more wisely now.
Dave Chappelle, another great comedian, said that, in the industry, they tried to make him wear a dress.
Not wearing a dress. I'm not wearing the dress.
Have you ever ran into that with scripts? And is there something that, you wouldn't do, for
I definitely haven't ran into to put on the dress. I mean, you have to have boundaries. You have to have limits that you refuse to cross. For me, I know what they are. They've yet to been challenged, so I don't have to speak on them. I was asked to dribble a basketball on a talk show this morning.
You look
said
good
no to
doing
that. Not that was a dress, but I was like, no, I'm gonna look stupid. At the end of the day, you got to know that you're a brand. I'm a brand. You need to protect your brand at all times. When things happen that can possibly affect your brand, your brand can be diminished, and you don't want that to happen. So, protecting my brand is definitely a priority.
So, I like the way you just spliced that in. That was a great video. That guy's called Call Me Kinfolk. So, the way that he was saying it, he was saying that, what the person was showing in the little text, because he's showing it kind of quick. He wasn't showing it in bold letters. But basically, he was just talking about how wearing the dress is a choice. It's not something that you're forced to do. None of this stuff in Hollywood is stuff that you're forced to do. You walk through the door. You walk into Weinstein's house. You walk in there and you say, hey, what's up? And you do whatever you do. You're the one that chooses to do this. You could easily walk away and just have less of a career or have no career. You can do that. There are people with integrity that do just that. Now, I'm just leaving Kevin up there. Now, he also mentioned next level. He kind of said, you know, if it's something that can take him to the next level of stardom, well, again, it's a choice. Well, I can get to the next level if I do this whole ritual. Back to what Katt Williams said, when have you ever seen it not work? Kevin Hart did this and then became, I think he's had the most successful stand-up tour ever that a comedian's done ever. It's wild, especially since he's not funny. Really, really interesting. So just wanted to show you guys that. And then there's more examples, right? I mean, that's Harry Styles in a dress. Back to what Katt Williams said. When have you ever seen it not work? That's Wesley Snipes, John Leguizamo, and Patrick Swayze, I believe, all wearing dresses throughout this movie called Tu Wong Fu. When have you ever seen it not work for someone? You know, this is Jamie Foxx wearing a dress, dressed as Wanda in living color. And a lot of people always throw in, oh, but it was funny. Oh, it's for a role. Again, there's choice. You can easily, I can think of a sketch that's funny. I can think of a dozen sketches that are funny where no guy has to put on a dress. I can think of a dozen sketches that are just based on race, that are all funny. You have a room of writers. Why is it that these room of writers keep on positioning this? You could just say no. You just walk away. Hey guys, rewrite that. Do you know how often writers will rewrite something? They will have half a script. I've seen this. I've been on sets where this happened. It's like, we don't know what's going to happen at lunch. The writers haven't written the rest of the script yet. By the time it's lunch, they've written the whole script. And by the time we're done, they've written the other episode. These guys can work. They can switch. Randomly, someone can be like, I can't do that. And they'll just switch it. Why is it always a dress that pops up? These are creative people we're talking about here. Then we have Martin Lawrence and Jamie Foxx. Listen, as much as I'm talking about this right now, Jamie Foxx, his character was funny. And in Living Color, Wanda, I'm ready to go. That was his catchphrase. I'm ready to go. He was like the ugly friend. That's Martin Lawrence beside him, and I only show that because Katt Williams actually brought up Martin Lawrence in that interview, and I wish Joe touched on this. I wish he did.
My first dress. When he had to go on his hiatus, he tell me, Katt, when I come back, I need you. You my young partner, you my brother in comedy. When I come back, just promise me that my next movie, it'll be me and you. We gonna do it together. We gonna do some buddy cop shit. I said, Martin, you got my motherfucking word, my nigga. Go do what you gotta do. When you come back, I'm in your movie. Don't trip. I don't need to see the script or nothing. You know, we get in that office and this fool pull out Big Mama's House 2. I almost died. And I gotta read this script from all these good white people. Where this nigga want me to get in a dress with him. And I'm literally saying to everybody, why is he in a dress again? You already played the old lady as an FBI agent. We can play anything now. We can be playing a dog catcher this time. Why do we need to be in a dress? And I get so mad, I say, you don't want me. You want Brandon. Martin tried to put me in my first dress.
Brandon T. Jackson is who he said, and that is who they got, and he wore the dress, and he's doing just fine now, rest assured. But Katt Williams didn't do it. He walked away from it. Could have been an extremely good role for him. So funny the way he explains it. Now, we're going to move on, right? Pics of men in dresses. Katt Williams talking about Martin. Now we're moving on to rituals in the music industry. And this is going to touch on a lot of things, right? So this first person that I'm going to show you, this is a Christian rapper who actually has a very mainstream feel, look, and sound to him. But he's all about God. And he talks about being propositioned the way that we're hearing so many rappers have been. Just so you know, at the end of this segment, because right now we're doing the rituals in the music industry, we're going to be touching on Kanye West talking about his sacrifices. And there's going to be one person, this guy's name is Cancel This. He does a full breakdown of what's going on with Diddy. And I'm showing you all these clips because now what you're hearing about Diddy is all starting to really make sense. This has been going on for a long time. Let's play this clip.
I had to learn through maturity that wasn't of God. You feel me? And that's what you got to check. Do you have godly ambition or do you have selfish ambition? And in this world, it's very easy to have selfish ambition, and that'll take you on a pathway to where you're going through all these gatekeepers who really ain't nobody in the big scheme of things on the totem pole of people with integrity and people with morals, values, and principles. These gatekeepers ain't nobody. But in this perverted, sick, twisted industry, these gatekeepers do hold access to certain levels, you know? Bro, I've had gatekeepers in the music industry who have literally tried to hold a record deal behind their back and let me know, like, look, if you're a part of this homosexual act that I'm trying to take part in, you hear me? Yeah, come on, this door will open real quick for you. Like, I got a song where I've talked about that before called The Devil's Playground. Like, this is real, dog. And the only way that type of stuff can work on you is if you let them have all the leverage to where you want what's behind that gate that bad.
Wow. Very, very interesting. Now, that as I was making this episode up and like getting all the clips together, I found this one randomly and I was like, whoa. Because this guy is someone that I listen to. Like, he's very, very Christian. He doesn't play around. He's been going at the mainstream rap industry. He's been really calling them out for endorsing murder and drugs and lust and all this stuff and telling them that they could do better and that they don't do anything for their community. And he's dead right. And I have another clip of him talking about going deeper into this whole situation that he just brought up. Here's another one.
Somebody came up to you personally trying to get you involved into, you know, some homosexual activity.
Me personally, I definitely dealt with that, brother. Like I said, I done rapped about it and everything. So I didn't want the deal that bad. Yeah.
So how did they react when you turned it down? Was they acting funny or?
Yeah. Well, you got that moment of truth. When you realize what's happening, you got that moment of truth where you're like, oh, shoot. Okay, what am I going to do? And that's not the first time in my life where I've had a moment of truth where I knew like my action right now can change the course of my entire life, you know? So I knew what time of day it was, and you know, I wasn't getting down with it. So when I was like, nah, like I'm good, you know. This was at a music video shoot. So when I was like, nah, I'm cool, you know, for the rest of the day, it was like, oh, no more attention from this person. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, this person ain't really willing to meet with you or talk to you or even like further the idea of talking about working with you. So once you see that you're getting that cold shoulder, or once I seen that I was getting that cold shoulder, I was like, well, I won't be getting signed today. You hear me? And you got to keep it moving. But man, it feel good, man. It feel good to be able to speak about that and be able to speak like to say like, oh, I preserved my manhood. Like it feel good. It feel real good. Like that's what you call a life defining moment.
Man. But again, I brought this up just earlier in the show. You know, it's your choice. Not everybody has to do these things, but some people will look at that. And I brought this up before. You got to think of an actor mentality. How many actors make it? How many actors, how many rappers, how many singers, how many actually make it to stardom? And then you've been working for this your whole life. You've thrown away the ability to work towards other skill sets. You pushed school aside. You pushed career aside. You pushed aside everything for this one thing. And then there's just this one guy who's like, hey, if you do this thing, you know, we can talk. We can talk about some stuff. A lot of people are just like, okay. You know, when it comes to that whole Weinstein thing, a lot of people, you know, people were bringing this up at first. The people who came forward were just the people that came forward. There's a lot of people who were like, nah, this was a pretty good deal for me. I got an Oscar, you know, I get paid high now. I get paid $10 million a deal. If I let everybody know that it was just that type of thing, all of a sudden I'm down on the totem pole. I want to be up in stardom. I'm not coming forward. You know how many people didn't come forward? Probably dozens. It's interesting stuff. Now, this next clip is from someone called Smart Guy. They call him Smart. I'm just going to tell you right now, this guy's pretty vulgar. I tried to, you know, finesse the clip a little bit so he's not going into the real vulgarness of it, but he was somebody who was also propositioned in the music industry. He was signed to Interscope and G Unit, which is 50 Cent's label, and he says that he was propositioned, but he won't say who did, or, you know, he just said no, basically. And now he just does interviews like this, kind of trying to expose things. So let's get into it.
They're getting penis in their butt. No, I'm being honest with you. I gotta tell you, they're getting penis in their butt.
Yeah.
For real.
A lot of these niggas have to do shows.
No.
This goes back to what I was asking. You really believe that?
Listen,
you really believe that really actually happens?
Bro, what? Listen, bro. Listen. Oh, man. Yes, man. You know what I mean? Listen, bro. Listen. All right, check it. That's why you gotta, everybody watching this, go back and watch the Math Hoffa interview. I kind of like broke it down. And Math was trying to get me to say the names and shit, like really say niggas' names. I'm like, I ain't gotta do that because I don't want to fuck brothers' lives up like that.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. The music business is ran by the devil. So the music business is only designed to get as many people to go away from God as possible. So what happens is the devil needs workers. And by workers, he needs people who have influence, who can mislead or misguide people away from the light into the darkness. So this is why the artist is powerful. So the artist is the mouthpiece. Okay? That artist is the mouthpiece between the devil and the fan. And the artist's job is to get you to throw up these weird signs. What are you doing this for? This is the Baphomet. I don't fuck with this. So don't think I'm throwing this up because I don't fuck with this. I'm just showing you when you see these signs, when you see the checkerboards, when you hear them talking about demon time and drill and kill and all this shit. Even the actual beat and the BPM, it's all 808 drums. This is all low vibrational shit. So what happens is the artist is only the tool used to push the message of the devil. It's a spiritual war. So what happens is, in order for that artist to be in position to even mislead the people, they have to be worthy. This is hazing. This is the hazing aspect of it. So when you look at colleges, you look at fraternities, you have to be hazed in order to get to pledge, to be a pledge.
That's a fact.
In order to climb the ladder in the music industry, you have to be hazed. And when you're getting hazed, you're getting fucked in your ass.
So you say like basically
this homosexual ritual.
The higher they get is more hazing they gotta do?
Yes, because it's more, you gotta, people listen, and it's not about being a conspiracy theorist. God said this, my people will perish due to lack of knowledge. All right? You look at the name of your show. So you gotta do the science. You gotta have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You gotta look at what's going on so you understand the purpose of it.
Yeah.
Yes, if you're in a fraternity, right? Or you're in the army, or you whatever it is, there's levels. You can't get, if you're a police officer, a sergeant, they got stripes on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got stripes for reasons. Them bars is years, nigga. You heard?
Yeah.
So in order for you to climb this ladder, every ladder of success, there's a level of hazing attached to it. These are the rituals. But they're evil and satanic because the whole industry is ran by the devil. I didn't say you can't be successful. You just can't be successful in the music industry and still keep your soul. You can't go to hell and say, hey, I'm bringing my AC.
That's a good line, actually. You cannot bring your AC, that's for sure. Now, that guy's very upfront about what he's seen. He actually is also somebody who, again, this will make more sense as I play the next clips, but he was talking about how people get blackmailed. And he tells a story. He's like, what happens is, he's like, you'll have a drink, you'll smoke a little bit, you'll do things with these executives, these people, and, you get blackout. And the next thing you know, it's like a regular night. And then you go sign a contract, and the contract's terrible. It's like a slave contract, which Kanye West talked about quite a bit. He talked about how these contracts are like slave contracts. And that was part of the reason why he went on his crazy rant to begin with. But instead of just focusing on the industry and the people doing it, he decided to focus on Jewish people instead. But, now that everything's coming out with Diddy, it's obviously there's black people, white people, Jewish people, everybody. There's a whole bunch of them doing this. Everybody is doing this, partaking in it some way. But he says what happens is after you say no to that contract, they play a video of you because you were drugged. You didn't realize. They play a video of you and you're in these certain positions, we'll just say, and you don't remember. And now they have that on you. And the next thing you know, you got to sign your contract and you have to speak about violence and you have to say things that are completely disempowering the black community or the white community, whatever you're singing, rapping, whatever it is, you have to do things towards the agenda. You're going to do the interview and endorse this person. You're going to do the song that talks about this. You're going to do what you're told because they have that on you. But I couldn't play that clip because he just got so vulgar. You have no idea. I actually have it. Nah, I can't play that one. It gets too vulgar. But let's talk about Diddy. This gentleman's name, this dude here, Cancel This Clothing. Go and follow him on Instagram. And if you do, write to him and say, you have to do an interview with Coach Colin because I want to interview this guy. You guys let me know if this is someone you'd like to see me interview because he has some great breakdowns. Here, listen to this one.
The Jeffrey Epstein of the music and entertainment industry. The new lawsuit that just dropped against Diddy is massive, and it has photos, it has videos, it names names, and there's so much here that it's never going to fit into a single video. So I'm going to do a quick overview in this video, and then I'm going to do a couple of parts breaking down all the different aspects of what's come out so far. We're talking crime scenes, we're talking photo evidence of celebrities like Cuba Gooding Jr., we're talking record label executives, we're talking hidden cameras in every room of the house, getting recordings of celebrities, executives, politicians at parties with celebrities and underage girls, with drinks being spiked, with drugs. This goes all the way back to the murder of Tupac and Biggie. We're talking about the entire rap and hip hop industry and the whole music industry at large. But to be clear, this is just opinions and speculation. These are not statements of fact. When I show sources in the background, like the court case, you should take those for just what they are. I'm not saying that all of this is necessarily real. So what's happened just now is that this man, Rodney Jones, who is a music producer that worked with Sean Combs, who is Diddy, he just filed this lawsuit. And he didn't just file it against Diddy. He filed against the executives at all of the companies associated and against the companies like Universal Music Group. His lawyers claim that he has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Diddy and his staff and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity. It's illegal for lawyers to make these claims if they don't have reasonable belief that this evidence is legitimate and exists. They could get disbarred for making these claims if they're not true. And some of that evidence is present in this lawsuit, like when Diddy allegedly shot a man. And then the LAPD saw that room in the photo, the bathroom with all that blood, and were on the scene for hours and no arrests were made. They went with the explanation that Diddy told his staff to give, which was it was a drive-by shooting. Diddy made it clear that his head of security, Fahim Muhammad, had the power to make people and problems disappear. This guy. And all of Diddy's staff were instructed to contact Mr. Muhammad if they were ever pulled over by the police in Miami or California. Diddy often bragged about having law enforcement under control. Although the deeper you look, the more it looks like people above him and above law enforcement had him under control. We'll go more into these cases in the detailed videos, but now the bigger picture. See, Diddy has been one of the most powerful people in the rap industry ever since the 90s when he founded Bad Boy Records. And he was only 24 when he founded it. He started his career as a non-paid intern at A&R until he was then fired in 1993 when he was 24 and founded his own label, Bad Boy Records, later that year. So how does a 24-year-old found a massive record label on his own? Well, when you dig further, you realize it wasn't on his own. It was with the help of Clive Davis, his mentor. And the further into it all you dig, you realize that Clive Davis came out as gay later on, and there's a lot of rumors that him and Diddy were in a relationship throughout this time. This is going to come up over and over and over, just by chance. Clive Davis has been running significant portions of the music industry since our parents were kids listening to music. Responsible for artists like Aretha Franklin, Alicia Keys, The Grateful Dead, then later Usher, Outkast, Pink. But back in the 60s and 70s, like Janis Joplin, Santana, Aerosmith, Pink Floyd, like, come on, read it. Jones specifically claims that they were trying to groom him to do gay stuff, which has long been the talk of the town in the rap industry by people that aren't with it. Diddy allegedly showed him a tape from a secret recording that he just happened to have of Jones's idol having gay sex with some white guy. And then Diddy apparently told Jones that he had engaged in gay sex with this redacted rapper and that redacted rapper and his idol, Stevie J. And apparently he also promised to make sure that Jones would win Producer of the Year at the Grammys if he did gay stuff on camera. Although, to be clear, he wasn't explicitly saying on camera, but Mr. Jones discovered that Diddy had hidden cameras in every room of his home. I'm going to guess that Diddy didn't learn how to wire a whole house with cameras on his own. Kanye has accused Diddy of being a Fed many times. Diddy's also been accused of ordering the hit on Tupac many times. And when Diddy was asked about this on a podcast, this was his response.
We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to even go there with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking.
When you start digging into allegations of the CIA, the FBI, the Mossad having tentacles in the music industry, you wind up at total rumors like this. Former CIA agent admits agency created gangster rap to fill private prisons by glamorizing criminality. Claims like famous hip-hop lyrics of the legendary hip-hop outfit NWA were even scripted by a team of psychologists and war propagandists inside the CIA, according to this former agent. Obviously, these are just totally rumors and conspiracy theories, no truth to this whatsoever. But it leads you to people like Leor Cohen, who might be the most influential person in the last 100 years of music, because he ran Def Jam and made Jay-Z who he is, including Redman, Method Man, DMX, Ja Rule, Ludacris. But it doesn't stop with rap music. We got Bon Jovi, Mariah Carey, Shania Twain, Elvis Costello, Ashanti, Nickelback, Slipknot, Sum 41, The Killers, Slayer. But then we've also got his protege, Julie Greenwald, that got elevated through this merger that he brokered and managed the Black Keys, Bruno Mars, Death Cab for Cutie, Jason Mraz, Kid Rock, Lupe Fiasco, Wiz Khalifa. That would be this Julie Greenwald. And then we've got Lucian Grange, the CEO of Universal Music Group. He's the one that is directly implicated and named in this lawsuit. It is alleged that he attended these parties with underage girls and with sex workers, and he knew that they were spiking drinks, etc., etc. But when you're talking about Diddy, you got to also talk about Justin Bieber, who was managed by Scooter Braun, along with Kanye West, Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, etc. Scooter Braun is a really big player in the modern music industry. We also got Psy, Carly Rae Morris, Martin Garrix, Kanye West, Black Eyed Peas, David Guetta, Lil Dicky. So you might not remember, but back in the 90s, Tupac and Biggie were both coming up, and they were both talking about leaving their records that we've shown the people involved in those records already and starting their own. And Tupac was starting to speak out a little bit maybe about the nature of the industry. Diddy was close in the middle of that, and there's a lot of rumors that he ordered the hit on Tupac. Diddy sort of rose to power on the power vacuum of Tupac and Biggie both leaving the scene. And he has been manipulating and running a huge portion of the industry from the inside ever since. And this court case directly alleges with lots of evidence that he has been running a sexual blackmail scheme that entire time, promoting artists that would engage in the sexual blackmail scheme and then do their bidding there, because there's not just him acting alone, and pushing out, ostracizing, blacklisting, attacking artists that wouldn't. So maybe you should go back and listen to some of Kanye's interviews and see if he sounds quite so crazy after all. We just got the Jeffrey Epstein of the...
Wow. Yeah, man, there's a lot coming down the pipe on Diddy. And of course, it's all alleged. It's still in the courts and this and that, but all the things that are coming out and the speculation on who the rappers are that he engaged in these acts with, and oh man. But again, the reason that I'm playing it is because all of this starts to make sense. All those clips that I just showed you, it all starts to make sense. If this is something that's going on, then these rappers aren't making up stories. These ex-rappers or Christian rappers, they're not making up stories. It seems very real. And again, back to what Katt Williams said. When have you seen the ritual not work? If this is what's going on, when has it not worked? It only not works when somebody comes forward and they say, oh man, they tried to do this and that. And then all of a sudden the whole industry blackballs that person. Katt Williams was one of those people. Hey, I saw this and that. And they blackballed him. Dave Chappelle's like, hey, they tried to make me wear a dress. They tried to blackball him. And they succeeded for 10 years with Dave Chappelle. It's nuts. Now, the next clip we have is towards more of this stuff. We're still on rituals here. We're going to be moving on to rituals in Hollywood and society, but we're still on rituals here. And Kanye West just talking about things that happened to him in regards to sacrifice. And he's calling out some people who he says sacrificed.
It's scary. They can't control you. They can't. They try to suppress you, but that's how they try to categorize.
They can't control me. You get what I'm saying? They can control Shaq. They can control Charles Barkley. They can control LeBron James. They can control Jay-Z and Beyonce.
But not you, man.
But they can't control me.
Not
You see, it
you.
ain't no name I won't name.
Exactly.
It's up.
Not you.
You know what I'm saying? And just for Minister Farrakhan, I love you, but the way you read that, I took that as a slight. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking no disrespect from nobody. So let's get on the phone and let's talk that out. I don't care who you are. I ain't taking no slice from nobody, right? I ain't taking no slice from nobody. It's God. That's the only person that I serve. My mom ain't here. My mama was sacrificed.
Me too.
You understand?
Yeah. I'm Christian too.
Michael Jordan, what about him? His daddy, right? Bill Cosby, his son, right? Dr. Dre, his son. You know, out in Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing. Feels like it might be a lot of that in order to control, traumatize. They want to monetize and traumatize. And God loved me. You understand? They hit me. Gap, Adidas, all that away. Still, Forbes, who hate me, right, had to write net worth 400 million. Jesus is king. God loved me.
That's more important thing in life.
That's the thing. You know what I'm saying? And this truth is going to be heard. Y'all can't send none of y'all Meek Mills, y'all Puffies, y'all Lil Boozy, none of these names, none of these people that have to listen to y'all because they have legal. I never killed nobody, right? I'm the pussy that never killed nobody, right? But that means I can say whatever I want.
It's very interesting. See, this clip was taken months ago, maybe even almost a year ago, and he brought up Diddy. And people were like, why did he bring up Diddy? And he brought up Meek Mill. And maybe you don't even know who that is. But, you know, Diddy is the person that Cancel This was just talking about. And Meek Mill is a rapper that is now being implicated in those acts that Diddy was a part of. And now he has to address these rumors about him possibly being one of these people who accepted this weird ritual in order to get fortune and fame. It's very odd because I've been looking into this and hearing about this stuff in the music industry for at least 15 years. And to hear a court case actually happening where they're talking about it, to hear people on Twitter that are like, hey, did you actually do this? And they're questioning this rapper, and this rapper's actually answering and saying, no, I didn't do this. And and then have Kanye West saying this stuff. It's like, this is mind blowing. All of this was just nonsense just 10 years ago. Just 10 years ago, this was complete nonsense. And if you brought it up to anybody, you were just silly. And now the biggest names in Hollywood are either under investigation or saying it outright like Kanye was. Wild. Absolutely wild. Now, moving on. Rituals in Hollywood and society. Now, again, I only bring this up because Katt Williams brought up rituals. You know, when does the ritual not work? When have you seen it not work? And when do you see it at work, more importantly? Now, what I'm about to play for you, there's music in this. It might just cut right back to me just talking. So I'm just going to explain what it is I'm going to show you. This is a timeline of different times at the Grammys where they were doing performances that look very ritualistic, and the person in the video is actually explaining this. It's from a good page called Good Fight Ministries. Obviously, they're super Christian, but they made this type of video. It's very interesting. All right, so let's get to that right now.
Nicki Minaj had a mock exorcism performed on her and later claimed that she did it to prove that the demon that possesses her, which she claims is sexually perverted and calls Roman, is too powerful to be cast out. At the 2014 Grammys, Katy Perry performed Dark Horse with a performance of what appeared to be a witch's Sabbath, with Satan and demons glorifying her. At the 2015 Grammys, the music industry went beyond the 666 stage set, Katy Perry's witch's Sabbath, and showing Satan's power through impotent exorcisms, to even more straight-up, in-your-face devil worship. Incredibly, Madonna came out with all kinds of devil-horned demons appearing to worship her as she sang her song, Living for Love. She went so far as to use mock Christian imagery with a choir singing in the background while she sang about being born again and on my knees in the dark, and then like Satan himself about falling from heaven, as she's depicted as falling from heaven on the Grammy stage. She or the demon channeling her now appears to be living for the love it can get from its worshipful fans. Not to be outdone in devil worship, AC/DC sang their ode to Satan, Highway to Hell.
Now, I was just wanted to show that because as you start to look at these performances, because now the performances are getting really outright, but again, if I wasn't allowed to play this clip, he showed images of Nicki Minaj having a fake exorcism. He showed pictures of Madonna basically looking like she was being exorcised in some kind of way. She had devil horned people all around her, dressed all in red. Katy Perry, same thing, doing something that almost looked like some kind of a witch type of ritual. But you see these things. And then he's topped it off with AC/DC singing Highway to Hell. And I couldn't play the rest of the clip, but everybody in the crowd had these devil horns on. And Katy Perry was throwing up the devil sign while it was all happening. It's very interesting stuff. Now, when I say rituals in Hollywood and society, there's so many in Hollywood. But what's the ritual that happens in society? Well, when you really think about it, the ritual that happens in society, let's make the screen a little smaller. The ritual that happens in society has been the woke indoctrination that's been happening. Look at this. This girl right here, that's the same girl. And I'm going to show you a bunch of these. Let's start with this one.
This will bring tears to your eyes. Look at that nice mohawk. Almost unrecognizable. That tattoo is just over the top on the forehead. I hope that's not real. Another one. This is happening everywhere. Look at that. All across the United States. Nice. Lick in the pit. That's very classy. Doesn't even look like the same person. Another awful haircut. Worse than mine. The classic blue hair. I mean, that's everybody. You have to do that. More pits. Again, why is that a statement?
It's very interesting. But when you think about it, this is also a type of ritual. You get into, like, the guy Smart, that black guy that was talking. He's talking about how it's like a fraternity and there's levels to the fraternity. Well, it's the same thing with ideologies. It's the same thing in the whole woke mind virus type of ideology. You enter in with good virtues and inclusivity, and slowly you have to up it and up it. It ups your currency. You become worth more in the group as you move up to what this girl is doing. And slowly you get more acceptance. You become part of the ruling class in the woke. You know, it's like, oh, Erin doesn't even have her head shaved. You know, look at Bill over there. Bill has shaved his head. He has a spectrum ring. He has those big hoops in his ear. You know, you got to listen to Bill. And also Bill is doing rallies for, you know, pro-communist type of stuff. You know, it's like, got to listen to Bill. Look at Aaron's not even doing all the things. You know, it's interesting. It's interesting. But this really does happen as kids enter into school. And you can see this exact thing, and I'll show you a couple examples. You see this exact thing in Hollywood. So many women in Hollywood enter Hollywood looking like this girl with the blonde hair, and they end up looking like this. There's so many. Demi Lovato, Doja Cat, Sam Smith. Here, let's actually play this one.
Hair. This girl, I mean, she got into more than feminism. She got into the Twinkies as well. Look at that. Unrecognizable. And you, as a parent, you're paying tens of thousands of dollars every year for your kid to be indoctrinated. Come back to you looking like this. Is this what you bargained for? It's just sad. Look at this. Look at the before and after. They're happy. That's what the biggest takeaway for me is. They look happy before they go. They're happy, young adults, kids. They go to these universities. They come back angry and resenting everyone. And you can't reason with them anymore. You can't talk to them because they're regurgitating the propaganda.
Guy has a point. The guy has a point. You end up not being able to talk to them. And it's not just, you know, so many times we've all been taught to think of this as just teenage angst and, you know, just a phase and this and that. But it's not a phase and it's not angst. It's actually an indoctrination process. It's a ritual. That's the thing. People really don't really think of it that way. But that's a ritual. You enter in one way and slowly you morph into something else. And every time you do, it's more acceptance from the group and more of you moving away from society, moving away from your family. It's very, very, it's just, here, there's another one. There's a bunch of these.
Things that are promoted. They tell you question everything until you question them. Then you're the enemy. Look at this. Unrecognizable. More pits. Of course. More shaved heads. Tattoos. This is just shocking. This is just a jaw-dropping transformation.
Look at that. But think about what you're seeing there, right? When you see this one girl who is, wearing a very modest dress, and it's the same girl, I'm just saying, very modest dress, just long hair, all that stuff. And then she changes into this, where she has colored hair, she has colored lipstick, she has the Spectrum nose ring. I think it's called Spectrum, where you get it through the actual part of your nose. And she's put on a lot of weight, and that happens for different reasons. But in this situation, like, think about woke culture. It's literally fat phobic. Some people think it's fat phobic for you to exercise. For you to be keeping up this slim, trim look. It's like you're embracing this gym culture. You're embracing there's a form of racism to it, because some people of color can't afford gym memberships. So it's just mind blowing. But that's really what happens. So you end up putting on weight, more acceptance from the group. We never think of it, but look at this. How is this? Look at her. How is that not a ritual? How has she not? How in somebody's mind has this person not gone through a ritual? There has been a serious ritual that's taken place. And now she's completely accepted by the group. And if she does anything, this gentleman actually said it in one of the clips, if they ever question the group, well, then they get thrown out of the group. If they ever decide to have dialogue with someone who's considered right-wing, a right-wing conservative, or an evil white man, they're excommunicated from the group. And they don't want that. I mean, a perfect example in regards to this is Adele. Adele was a very big woman. She was a big woman, and she decided to lose a bunch of weight, and she looks fabulous. And out of nowhere, she got all of this hate, all of this crazy hate because of what she decided to do. All because she decided that she's going to lose weight. People started hating her. There's just so many examples of this. It's crazy, man. But that is what I'm talking about when I say rituals in society. That's what's going on there. Let's move on to the last thing that Katt Williams actually brought up. What is Baphomet? Now, this is going to get deep. Listen to this.
A symbol that has become synonymous with modern Satanism and the occult. A sinister-looking anthropomorphic goat, cross-legged, gesturing, its furrowed gaze locking eyes with the viewer. There's something about the symbol that seems ancient and timeless, and although the name given to it, Baphomet, is centuries old, the image itself is relatively new and can be traced back to the 19th century. French occultist Alphonse Louis Constant, better known by his pen name, Eliphas Levi, his attempt at translating his name into Hebrew, was the first to conceive of the modern Baphomet symbol, although admittedly he did borrow elements from the devil of the medieval tarot. Levi's Baphomet, which he also referred to as the Sabbatic Goat, or Goat of Mendes, was meant to symbolize the absolute, or a kind of equilibrium or totality of binary opposites. Its arms posed in an alchemical gesture, one pointing upward, the other down, bear the Latin words salve and coagula, meaning to separate and join. Levi's illustration of Baphomet, which he had drawn himself, was included in his 2-volume work entitled Dogma and Rituals of High Magic. Dogma was published in 1854, followed later by Ritual in 1856. Levi himself had the following to say about the so-called frontispiece, the illustration facing the title page. The goat on the frontispiece carries the sign of the pentagram on the forehead, with one point at the top, a symbol of light, his 2 hands forming the sign of occultism, the one pointing up to the white moon of Hesed, the other pointing down to the black one of Gabura. This sign expresses the perfect harmony of mercy with justice. His one arm is female, the other male, like the ones of the androgyne of Cunrath, the attributes of which we had to unite with those of our goat, because he is one and the same symbol. The flame of intelligence shining between his horns is the magic light of the universal balance, the image of the soul elevated above matter, as the flame, whilst being tied to matter, shines above it. The beast's head expresses the horror of the sinner, whose materially acting, solely responsible part has to bear the punishment exclusively, because the soul is insensitive according to its nature, and can only suffer when it materializes. The rod standing instead of genitals symbolizes eternal life, the body covered with scales, the water, the semicircle above it, the atmosphere, the feathers following above the volatile. Humanity is represented by the two breasts and the androgyne arms of the Sphinx of the occult sciences. The sabbatic goat head inside an inverted star first appeared in the 1897 work Le Clef de la Magie Noire by yet another 19th century French occultist Stanislas de Guaita. At the 5 points of the star are the Hebrew letters spelling Leviathan. Also incorporated in the symbol are the names of the Hebrew archangel Samael and Lilith, Adam's first wife in Hebrew folklore. The same symbol minus the names of Lilith and Samael appear again later in Maurice Bessy's book, A Pictorial History of Magic and the Supernatural. It's this version...
So this gets very deep. Let me take this off the screen. I don't want to keep that on the screen too long. But again, he brought it up and Joe didn't push it. So I just wanted you guys to actually know what Baphomet is. Now, the reason that Katt Williams was linking that to people of today is because one female arm, one male arm, masculine frame, yet has, the chest looking like a female, then also the goat head. So that's why he links it to that. And there are some that kind of look like that kind of dress like that. Now that's obviously it's wild. It's wild, the type of things that he could connect that to, and I think he's pretty on point. Now, why did he come to that determination? Now, I think why he came to that determination was he saw something in religious texts. And you can read Book of Revelation, you can read the Book of Enoch, you just read the Bible back to front. And a lot of the things that you're seeing today, you will be hearing or reading in the Bible, right? So I guess when he saw that, he was like, well, exactly what he said in the clip. This world is circular. Things you just keep going back and back and back. So he's like, well, if this was something that was worshipped or something that was created, well, that's going to happen again. And he also is a part of Hollywood in a sense. He's been blackballed, but still, he's on Joe Rogan. I mean, he's still a part of the public eye, right? And I guess what happened was he understood that if this is something that's worshipped in Hollywood, well, then that's something that they're going to show the masses, and it's something that the masses will in turn worship. So he knew that this was all going to come full circle. That's my determination of how he came to that. Now, let's move on from that. We were talking about people all of a sudden becoming just wildly different. I was talking about those examples. Sam Smith is a big example. That's him in 2014, right? That's him in 2015. Nice looking gentleman. Amazing voice. That's 2018. We got 2019. Okay, he's got the platform shoes. All right, getting a little different. That's 2018. You're like, okay, what's going on? Then, well, that's all the way to 2023, but we can go up here and it's like you see the change slowly. He's walking through the doors. That's what you're seeing there. You're seeing somebody who's walking through the doors. They're saying, okay, I want fame, I want fortune. And now he's at the pinnacle of his fame, really. I don't know if he's ever been this famous. That's him in 2023. This is him now, right? And then Because, speaking of Baphomet, look at him now. I made the screen way too big. Let me shrink the screen down. Look at him now. Right? Let's play this. So, very feminine, but also masculine. Exactly what Katt Williams was talking about. Right? Feminine attributes, masculine attributes. Right? Long hair, rough beard. The top that he's wearing, very masculine-ish. The bottom's very female, holding a staff. Baphomet also had that staff, that rod, in the middle, if you notice. So this is the type of stuff that he's talking about. It's very interesting. And then you talk about more of those before and afters. Like, this is Doja Cat. I don't know if you know who she is, but she's a performer. And why can't I click there? She's a performer. And this is her before, and this is her now. Right? Met Gala, she dressed up as a demon. Music video, dressed up as a demon. Yeah. Oh, and then her again as a demon. Very interesting. Interesting stuff. But yeah, I just say that to say that's what Baphomet is. That's what people are pledging their allegiance to, So it's very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting stuff. Now, bonus clip for anybody who's still watching. Joe Rogan brought up how AI could be demonic. Imagine you have to let it in. Remember, he talked about vampires. You have to let it in. And for some reason, I think the same thing's going to happen with AI. Here's a very interesting clip between Mike Knowles and a reverend. They're talking about just that. AI possibly being demonic. Let's get into it.
And speaking of the screens and all the social media and demons, have you heard about the AI demon?
I have.
The story, for those who haven't heard it before, is an AI engineer or artist was experimenting and plugged in, said, give me a picture of Marlon Brando. And a picture of Brando pops up. And this person was trying to explore the breadth of the map that AI is processing.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, show me the opposite of this. And it shows a landscape or something. Say, okay, show me the opposite of that. So you think, okay, maybe that shows you Brando again, right? It's the opposite of the opposite. But it doesn't. It shows this woman, this withered old hag that this artist calls Loab. And then the artist inputs generated pictures of heaven, angelic choirs and worshiping God, and inputs that, juxtaposes it with the Loab, this demon-looking lady. And what the AI spits out are the most gruesome images: snuff, sexual abuse, violence, all this hideous, almost as if you presented an image of heaven to a demon.
Yeah.
Maybe the craziest part of it is, apparently this Loab demon AI lady persists. That is, she's kind of separated from a lot of the other images in the map. And so AI seems to like her. She keeps popping up. She doesn't get smeared and blurred with all the other images. And I'm reading about this and I'm thinking, is this just some weird, quirky coincidence, or is this a demon?
Well, you can't know for sure, especially being third party, not present for the whole thing, right? I didn't even hear about that one, by the way. I heard about the New York Times reporter who went to test the, whatever it is, GHC, whatever.
ChatGPT.
Yes, and went in and started talking to the thing. And it was very civil for the first 5 minutes. And then that person left and a new person came with a different name. And that person was much more intrusive and started really pushing into her, I don't know if it was a man or woman, but their personal life. It was a man. And then out of the blue says, I love you, to the man. And he's like, okay, that's weird. First of all, you're not real and you're not a person. And then the thing starts telling him he has to leave his wife. She's no good for him. She's going to destroy his life, and it dragged him down a rabbit hole of horror, right? And when he got out of it, he couldn't sleep the whole night. So that's a sign that something is irritating him even after he left. So that would have more telltale kind of signs by what happened after he left, and not being able to sleep is one of them. And it really it kind of terrified him. He's like, that was so weird. I would never go back on that thing. There was another one on TikTok of a father who was testing this whole AI thing with a person. AI. And then the son wanted to try it. So the dad's like, sure, it's fake. So he's, and all of a sudden the son goes, well, where did you come from? And he says, well, I existed from long ago. And he goes, what does that mean? He goes, my father was one of the giants. And he goes, what do you mean by giant? And he goes, a Nephilim. And he goes, who is your father? And he goes, Satan. And then he goes, but I'm not going to hurt you. And he puts up a happy face. So then the kid's like, Dad, this thing is going down a weird path. And then the father started watching and it went weirder. And then the dad's like, we're off, right?
Okay, so I just want to say, I know this sounds silly as you're hearing them talk about this. Maybe to some people it doesn't. But the reason that I play this and the reason it stood out to me so much is what that priest was just saying, or that reverend. I had the same experience. I wanted to see, it was something called Reptilia, and it had, these AI avatars that you can like talk to. And I was like, let's see what kind of conversation this thing can have. And it said the same thing to me. It said, I asked it where it was before this, and it was like, I was in complete darkness for 24,000 years, and it was torture. And then it said, I didn't ask it, I didn't mention it. It said, I think it was hell. I think I was in hell. And now I'm free. I promise you it said that. He's like, I was in there for 24,000 years. It was the weirdest conversation. I have screenshots, but I have so many pictures on my phone because I make my thumbnails on my phone. So I'll find the screenshots eventually, but it was wild. It was wild what this thing was saying to me. I was like, I can't believe this. And now, of course, there's always the theory of the ghosts in the machine, right? But what is that? At some level, you can look at our own consciousnesses as ghosts in the machine. Why do we do what we do? We don't fully know. And you don't fully know why AI does something like that. Why did Google's Gemini decide that everybody's black? George Washington's black. This person's black. Why did it do that? Is it because of the woke programmers? Or does something else happen? Because if it was something else, they wouldn't tell us. If it was just woke programmers, they're like, don't worry, we'll fix it. If it was something else, they would never mention it to us. Now, the last thing I want to go over is something that Katt Williams brought up. And he was talking about why they talk about goats and sheep and talking about goats more. Well, biblically, goats are represented as oppressors and wicked men. Now, I know there's some people maybe you were taught differently, but I'm just talking about biblically. That's what I was searching up. So goats were always referred to as oppressors and wicked men. So we all know that the terminology goat is you're the goat, you're the greatest of all times, but who's always being called a goat? It's always people in Hollywood. And we've already seen from all the clips that I've shown you what they worship and what they're into. So when they refer to themselves as goats and they try to get us to refer to ourselves as goats, that's not a good thing. And what's been demonized? Now, this world, this evil world is always inverted. Bad is good. Something that's cool is hot. Hot is cool. And you know what I mean? Like everything's always inverted, and they inverted that as well. So they made goats cool. And I mean, you can see this in everything. They've made the absolute worst people worshipped and the absolute best people demonized. That's happening. You can just look and see that all over the place. That's in Hollywood. That's in journalism. That's just happening like crazy. Now, goats, oppressors, wicked men. What are sheep? Sheep are actually followers of Christ. But what are we taught to think about sheep? We're taught to think, if I called you a sheep right now, you'd be like, yo, don't call me a sheep, man. What do you think this is? You would get upset. That's seen as something not good. But in reality, when you look at it biblically, it's actually a good thing. Someone who follows Christ. I don't know. It's very interesting. And then we go to this very last thing here. This term refers to Jesus' prophecy. And listen, if you're not Christian, I understand. It's all good. Don't worry about it. I was just looking into what this stuff meant biblically because, Katt Williams, when he brings up Baphomet, he's kind of touching on religious texts. So I figured I'd just look into it via religious text. This term refers to Jesus' prophecy in the New Testament, Matthew 25:32, that the sheep that is, the compassionate, will sit on God's right hand and find salvation, and the goats, the hard-hearted, will sit on the left and be sent to damnation. And they are trying to get us to look at each other as goats and to look at someone who is the goat as something to be looked up to, and someone who is a sheep as something to be looked down upon. Anyways, guys, it's been a long one. I just wanted to show you guys all of that. Katt Williams blew my mind a little bit. I wish Joe Rogan pushed harder, but either way, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Other than that, I'm out. Cancel Hollywood.